guess that means we're ready to go with a pod full of Saints. But it's going to be an interesting one tonight, because obviously we're looking back at the end of the Saints Cup run with, over there, Lee Wood. Evening, Lee.
Tabs, Jacob.
And over there, yes, Jake Ellacott waving a hand at everybody.
Hello, Dave. Hello, Lee. Hello, everyone.
Right, it's easy to turn this into a wake, but if you think about it, here we are talking at the end of City's Cup run in the first week of December. We take that every year, won't we?
Absolutely. I was saying this after the game to a few guys. We achieved everything we wanted from the Cup this season. Good run, TV appearances, good days out, and a lot of money. That is, let's be honest, non-league clubs like St Albans, you're in it for beating a league side, and you're in it for the money to bankroll you. And that's exactly what we got. So can we complain really about the run? Not at all.
Before we get onto the game, what was it like for you two going to the game? You went by train. Now, you must have been, Jake, on train to some away games where it's pretty much you and the driver, and that's it. You must have had a fair bit of blue and yellow with you there tonight, last night.
I'm sure Lee will say the same, but it was absolutely brilliant. Drinking beforehand in St Albans in the Mermaid as usual, getting to the station, sea of City colours at the station, and the minute we boarded on the train, it just absolutely went mental. It was superb. Most of it was led by a certain Kevin Mudd, so it was absolutely brilliant, wasn't it, Lee?
Educated, raucous yobs. That's the only way I can describe us, Tabs, if I'm honest. I was saying to Ben Griffiths, because we were sort of talking, it was so good to see some old faces turn up as well. That train ride could possibly be like the best 10 minutes of the entire day for us, because it was just absolute mayhem. Everyone to a man singing their hearts out on behalf of the club. And yeah, it just sort of carried on well into the game. So yeah, the atmosphere was amazing and everyone played their part yesterday.
I got there fairly early, just after 6. No chance of parking in that car park. That had long gone by then. But there was virtually nobody in the ground, so I was able to go around to where the tunnel is and stand outside the fence, talk to Graham Allenson and James, and it was interesting. And then watching them set up on ITV4, and I walked back, and it was still fairly quiet. But you two were in the terraces there. That must have been a great habit. It sounded great from the stand, but the support building up to kick off, it was fantastic.
Yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. You know, walking to the ground was great. There was great atmosphere going along Borehamwood High Street. It was pretty much just Saints fans along there making all the noise. All the Wood fans were away in the pubs. And yeah, getting to the ground, turning to my left, looking at the terrace, I was like, blooming heck, I did not expect it to be this packed already. But I say it was brilliant atmosphere, and we have to say all the Saints fans that went, pretty much every single one of them, and did the club proud, did City proud, especially compared to the fans of the other club that was playing. And I think we were absolutely brilliant. As you say, atmosphere was great. Yeah, it was another great representation for the fans on TV.
Before the game, we had the draw for the third round. Everybody's thinking that could be a distraction, because if you get one of the big clubs, it's going to be on the players' minds. If anything, Lee, it went the other way, didn't it? AFC Wimbledon.
It's not one to evoke any sort of massive sort of euphoria, is it? That said, though, I think it was almost that sort of last piece of the puzzle, wasn't it? We knew the draw was going to be prior to the game. I think, to be honest with you, mate, you were spot on with your assumption of it last week when you said the players wouldn't really have noticed it. You know, their focus was fully on Borehamwood. It was a nice little sort of cliche for us fans walking down the high street trying to sort of tune into ITV4. But apart from that, mate, you know, Wimbledon, yeah, it would have been nice, because it would have been like a nice sort of like another feather in our cap. But apart from that, Tabs, you know, it doesn't really excite, does it?
It's funny, like, I mean, you and I, we remember Forest Green Rovers as a non-league club, and not a very big one at that. And Borehamwood, obviously, junior to us for a long, long time. They've somewhat overtaken us now, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And AFC Wimbledon, another non-league club. And we didn't get a glamour tie all the way through, even if we had got as far as the third round, which is a shame, really, isn't it? But one of those things.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, it did make it did take the edge off actually yesterday. Afterwards, when I thought about that, did we really miss out on much against Wimbledon? Wouldn't have been on TV. Probably a good chance of losing again, and we've played them fairly recently as well in the last 10, 15 years. So didn't really miss out, not even away. And yeah, I say, and it has to be said, our draws in both the cup and the trophy this season have been absolutely awful.
Shake them balls up, fellas. Shake them up.
Yeah.
Right, let's get on to the game then. Pitch was wonderful, no two ways about that. The ground looked excellent as well. Everything was set up for the big match. We didn't fire though, did we? Early on, we just didn't fire. It took us a good half an hour, 35 minutes to get into that game. Yeah,
that first half an hour, we just really struggled to pass and move and play any of the good football that we have done this season. After the half hour mark, I know we went a goal behind, and it was probably offside by the looks of it. Everyone, no one was happy about that at all. Everyone was getting texts from their mates at home going, that was well offside. That was a red line. I not spotted that. So, but after that, I thought the Saints, got to half hour mark, one down, not great, but we did rally. We had a decent spell, and that spell came about from the passing and the movement, and that Dijou chance off the bar, that was the one. But that 10-minute spell at the end of that first half, I said to a few guys, that was probably the chance really, and it proved to be. So yeah, and it's that first goal. Offside, of course, but the defending as well. We just didn't get it away. We had to get it away, no matter what the officials are doing.
Yeah, that goal is going to play on Callum Adebayo's mind for a long time to come, isn't it? But it was a miskick. The silly thing is, it could have left it. That should really have been the goalkeeper's ball. There was space and time for him to get it. Maybe it's because it's unfortunate, but Konya, he's not got enough experience with us. Michael Johnson probably would have claimed it because he knows his teammates.
Yeah, and it has to be said, me, Lee, were stood pretty close behind that goal. I don't think there was any shout at all from the keeper. I don't think there was really any shouts from them at all throughout the night, really. And as I say, I think we really missed Johnson's commanding presence.
We did, but I don't think any of our defenders really covered themselves in glory throughout the entire night. One thing I would say is I think half-time came at the wrong time for us because we were just starting to get a little bit of momentum, and you can see we were never going to match them for physicality across the board. We obviously had a game set to sort of shift their back line, create holes and play through them with football. And I thought we were the better footballing side, no two ways about it, but we were never going to match them in terms of physicality and, strength and the way they dominated off the ball. And their work rate was second to none. You can't fault them about that. But I thought, give us another 10 more minutes and perhaps we could have, because they were tiring towards the end. And we tried to stretch their back line and create the holes. It just didn't come off for us in the end. And yes, we had chances, and we can talk about ifs and buts and all of that. Our defence wasn't their best game. Either those that started or those come off of the bench. One thing I would say again is that when you have mistakes of that caliber, you can't expect to win football games, fellas. And that's what it came down to, really, wasn't it?
It's funny, I just about 10 minutes before we started this, had a text from a supporter who praised Alec Lancashire, who thought he had a really good game back there at left back. So protect one of the defenders. But you said there, Lee, quite rightly about how strongly we finished that first half. We even started the first 3 minutes of the second half. We started to look really good. Then they go and get that second goal, 2-0. It's all over, isn't it? But to me, the reason why we started looking better during that time, we brought Johnny Goddard into the game. We'd ignored him for half an hour, and suddenly we had somebody who could hold on to the ball and pass the ball and thread it through. And that is the sort of game we normally play, because up until then, poor old Sean Jeffers, he was isolated up there completely.
Yeah, I agree. I say start of the second half, could have had a free kick maybe, ball gets recycled, and then it's an aimless punt from our defenders back up towards the ball in Woodside, and that's where it comes from. But I say Johnny Goddard, a player of his quality, you cannot ignore him. Once you get him on the ball, he can work it, especially when you don't have David Noble in the side. And I think in hindsight, again, when we were looking to pass and move around the Boreham Wood defence, hindsight probably should have started Nobby, even if he's not fully fit, to give him a go. But as you say, John Goddard, similar player, get him involved. Things happen, and I think
Fellas, I've got to interrupt you, Jake, right? Because there is this sort of somber feel we've got to sort of proceedings tonight, and I understand the fact we're out of the cup, but we've really got to take so many positives out of our cup run, and much better sides than us are going to go to Boreham Wood and get turned over, So we've got, and we did trouble them, we did scare them, we did create chances, and it just wasn't our day, Offside, balls off of the bar, all of that sort of thing. On another day, it's another result, but I do think we've got to start taking the positives out of what we've created as a club and as a team over the last few months.
I agree with that, Lee, but also I think some supporters are asking about the team lineup. And I think last week you were very much in favour of Nobby starting. And to me, when you can make 5 substitutes, why not start him? He's got the experience, he's got the talent. And I thought that was possibly a mistake. Have him on there. If it lasted just 45 minutes, fair enough. Yeah. You've got 5 people who could replace him technically.
Yeah. Around to you and said, if he's fit, he starts all day. If he's fit, so and if he wasn't fit, and Ian could have had that game back, he probably would have started Nobby again. Yeah. Goddard, yeah, I agree. He took far too long to get into the game. Jeffers was isolated on more occasions than not, and it just didn't work for us. Zane huffed and puffed, but again, you need the players to be on the same page behind him. The passing was poor, if I'm honest, especially when we were trying to chase the game. It was sort of, we almost got a bit flustered, didn't we, with the occasion, and we tried to press it too much, and we didn't play our natural game, which obviously fell straight into their hands as well.
It's funny, White is an imposing kit, and Wood did look imposing. They looked physically stronger than us, and they were, which it would be their full-time training, for goodness sake. But it's difficult to criticise them when they won 4-0, but I thought we'd actually get a bit more football from them than we saw. 1 or 2 people have said they're functional, and I thought that's a good description. They're functional. It's not to criticise them, because they deserve to win, no 2 ways about that, good grief. But I just expected a little bit more football from them, bearing in mind the statistic that says we had 61% of possession, which I find a bit surprising.
I think it probably sums up a bit of the National League as a division, probably. If a side like Boreham Wood are top with football, and they have not scored terribly high amount of goals this season, and I expect if the Saints did get up into the National League, I think we'd find a lot of games like that, actually. A lot of physical sides to go up against. That, football, Route 1 does the job. Fair play to them. So,
But their manager even said, we're not easy on the eye. We are effective. We're workmanlike. And you know what? It isn't pretty. And I was saying this to a few fans this morning. If I was a season ticket holder at Boreham Wood, that's going to be a long old slog watching that every single week, because maybe I'm too much of a purist, Dave, because I like my teams to play football. But then again, they are winning games, so you've got to find that balance there. But I tell you what, it wasn't easy on the eye, but it's certainly easy in terms of them getting into the next round of the cup.
It's funny, Lee, because I go to watch St Albans. First thing I want to see is a good game of football. City winning is secondary to me. I want to feel you've had a good afternoon or whatever. Other people go there, but just to watch St Albans win, which they do for their own clubs all around the country, which is fair enough. And if they win, they get promoted, they're happy. That's fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
That one game for Boreham Wood, 60,000 from the TV, which of course we get as well, 34,000 from beating us. That's almost 100 grand just on one game. That makes
and £5 from your wallet, mate, to go towards that programme,
which apparently is now free online, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but it is a brochure about Boreham Wood and the club. It's not an FA Cup programme. It is one big disappointment, which is a shame. I was looking forward to some good articles in there, but it's all about Boreham Wood. If they want to put out a brochure promoting their club, no problem at all. That's what it should have, and they should have been 2 separate things.
Are you saying you didn't enjoy Danny Hunter's 5-page piece about basically his own life? Do you not enjoy that, Dave?
Haven't read it all the way through yet, Jake. No comment.
Well, apparently on the commentary, I haven't watched it back. Apparently on commentary and on the coverage, they're talking about how Danny Hunter basically just has a go at St Albans City, and there'll be no love lost with Lawrence and Ian. So I mean, fair enough. Boreham Wood one. This sounds like sour grapes, but it just sums up their whole mentality, doesn't it? And they'll always be in our shadow as a football club, I think, in terms of that.
Bloody hell! What have you been drinking, mate?
Off the pitch, I'm still drunk from last night. Off the pitch, at least, their behaviour with that sort of stuff is just, I think most people think that. And by the sounds of it, a lot of the ITV coverage was very much similar. Of Boreham Wood, what really are they as a club?
You weren't drunk last night, Jake. You were texting me 2 o'clock this morning. There weren't any.
It was. They were strong, physical, dominant on it. And some would suggest knuckle dragging mutants off of it because, you can't quite beat a Monday night with bottles and coins getting thrown at your head to really sort of cap things off.
No.
It's about Bournemouth being a smaller club to us or living in our shadow, Jake, which is unfair how they are now, but we are very much in their shadow. There's no two ways about it. On the pitch, off the pitch, the ground and the organisation, we are in their shadow and we've got to accept it. And obviously the owners are trying to get a new ground and level things up a bit. Where Wood struggle is with their support. We sold, 1,400 tickets, no problem at all. We could have filled that ground on our own. In theory, Wood had the rest of the, 2,700 other supporters there, which they did. But how many of those do we reckon actually paid? We've read the articles about the tickets they were giving away free because it's the only way we can get rid of them.
I'm all for nice stands, Tavs, and I'm all for a nice, lush, green top, mate. But you know what? I'll take our fans over any of that every single day of the week. We conducted ourselves with the highest amount of class, apart from there was a few flares and a few items thrown on the pitch, and I'm pretty sure they're not really our fans, if I'm honest. But to be honest, you look at the way that their fans conducted themselves, or a small minority or a large minority, however you want to sort of say it. But to have pitch invasion after pitch invasion, and then at the end, a couple of hundred of them walked across the pitch and started lobbing bottles and coins at us. Being in the conference, being top of the conference is great. Nice plush new stand, fancy seats. But you know what? Give me some God honest, decent fans any day of the week, mate.
Well, Bournemouth got a history of trouble with fans at big games, particularly against us. I understand it, local rivalry. I mean, that sort of thing, unfortunately, goes on in football. So where was a police line or at least stronger stewards ready to stop their fans who were always going to invade once we got thrashed? It wasn't there. And I tell you, they were pretty much allowed to get right down to our end. As you say, Lee, missiles coming in, a lot of which seem to get returned from what I can see, which one would expect. But the abuse with hand signals and verbal, that should have been stamped out at the other end of the pitch.
Absolutely. There just didn't seem to be, from what I could see, zero stewarding from that end at all. I mean, down our end, there's quite a few stewards. I mean, a lot of them seem to be stewards that actually work at Clarence Park as well. Whereas up at the Boreham Wood end, as I say, just didn't seem to be any interest at all at trying to prevent anything. And like Lee says, I think the Saints fans were so well behaved and controlled themselves so well when the Boreham Wood fans came charging over. It could have easily gone much worse if it was a lot of other clubs in that game that weren't the Saints fans. If it was another club, I think it would have been an absolute terrible night. So, fair play to Saints fans. I say Boreham Wood as a club, just shambles, wasn't it?
Talking to other supporters today, what response have you been getting?
Positive on the whole, Tavs. Positive. Not obviously disappointed at the result and the manner in our performance, second half in particular. But on the whole, I think they're looking at the bigger picture. And for me, if there's one testament that how much now we need investment into our side, last night was certainly it. Our goal is to get promoted. Our goal is for the higher echelons of this division and going into the National League. I think the owners and I think the management will look at last night as clear evidence that we need investment. if that is to be true. But as I say, on the whole, positive, mate. Very, very positive. Disappointed, but they're looking at the bigger picture. We've got a very, very sort of positive league campaign to focus on now. And obviously, we've got a little foray into the trophy.
I think you may have mentioned before in previous weeks, we've got this over £200,000 we've made from the FA Cup run. How much of that Ian Allenson is given will give an indication of how seriously this club wants promotion and starts challenging on the same level that Bournemouth are currently at.
Absolutely. That was basically the message that most Saints fans, I think, that I spoke to after the game last night, said. If we have any intention to show that we want to be a club that wants to get promotion or even get a playoff place this season, Ian must be given the ability to spend and strengthen the side. It is a big squad. It's like 20 players. But there are obvious issues in the squad at the minute. Central midfield, right back, etc. We've known about for ages. And with the fixture run that we've got coming up now over the next month or two as well, big games. This will be honest. This month could define a lot of where we end up. We've got to spend the money. It's burning a hole in our pocket. I know we won't spend all of it. We're not going to spend loads. We've got to do it. Got to do it.
If I'm not mistaken, isn't Bailey Brown the only player we've brought in during the season so far? You mentioned right back there. We've known about that since the end of August when poor old Devante suffered his injury and we knew Michael Clark was going to be out for ages. Now, is it Ian who hasn't got out and got a right back, or hasn't he been given the funding to do it?
It's hard to say. I think partly it's a focus with the academy. Obviously, club wants to rely on that more. That's understandable, and it is working. The academy is doing well, and it's bringing in decent players. But Ian's a football manager. He wants to win games. He wants to win promotion. He wants to repeat what he did at Wood with the Saints. And to win games, he needs to be able to strengthen. I say maybe he is hesitant, and maybe he doesn't want to disrupt the squad because the harmony of the squad does seem really good. Even today, the messages from the players on social media are still really positive, really happy, and around the club has got a really good vibe at the minute. And maybe he doesn't want to upset that, but at the same time, you know, we've got to win games. We've got to go for it.
Like the harmony's going to be so much better, mate, when you're actually winning games of football. And Ian's made no sort of complaints about harmony in the past. And obviously, how long is he going to have left as our boss? I'm not saying for 1 second that he's going to leave or whatever, but he's got to have a shorter goal vision than the one that Dean Austin and the academy are sort of trying to implement as well. And obviously, Dave, yes, we need a right back, but we've got our hands stung before, mate, where we've just brought in people for the sake of it. And I no longer want to be looking to the lower leagues to get our players. I'm now looking at like for like, or even we're looking to the conference to get the players of David Noble and Johnny Goddard and Sean Jeffers, etc. Those are the caliber of players we want to be bringing back into the club, mate. Because we haven't got time to be trying to get, no disrespect to anyone from the lower leagues, getting players like that up to speed in terms of what we need to produce and what we need to be getting out of them in their position.
Mind you look at that side, and there's a fair few there who have actually come from lower levels.
I do agree, but I think mid-season you have got to look at least. With pre-season, you have a chance. And, even players like Callum Adebayo, it took him some time to get up to the level that we wanted. So, and this season, we've got an absolutely... The thing that gets me is we've got such an amazing front four of Jeffers, Weiss, Banton and Goddard. If we do not support them by investing in the rest of the team this season, I know it's been amazing, but if we do not get a top 6-7 finish, we'll be wasted because we're not going to have a front four attacking lineup playing the football that we have at times this season. Next season, I don't think.
The fans will give their answer pretty quickly. As we said, we saw over 4,000 down the park the other week, 13 to 1,400 there last night. And yet when we went to Oxford and then Tunbridge, and we had probably fewer than 40 putting the two games together. If we're not seen to strengthen that side and the results start drifting, you've lost all that goodwill from those new supporters.
Yeah. Dave, we have this has happened throughout our history, mate. It has. This happens. We are a success-driven club, and we can only really, I would honestly say we've got 1,000 hardcore fans that will come and sit on our terrace or stand on our terraces week in, week out. yes, when you start getting into the cup echelon, the higher sort of tiers of the league, that's when the fans start coming back, and and the frequency along with that. And don't forget as well, we criticise Wood for handing out free tickets to their schools. All those kids that came in and stood on our terraces, mate, they're from the academy, so we've been hands out as well. I think it's very important. I think it's very important for everyone to back the side now. It's very, very easy to say, oh, we're out of the cup now, all of those days have gone. Come back, stay with us, because we've still got a really good side.
All the new ones leave. They'll only stay with you if you're still in contention. If
Right,
if we drift away, which is why the club has got to prove to everybody, yep, we are determined about this promotion bid.
That's the way it's always been, Dave. As long as you've been going, and as long as I've been going, mate. And it's nothing is going to change, just because that is the mindset. We are so close to so many other professional sides now. We've got to sort of cherry pick all those fans, who don't want to go watch Luton away or Watford away or Arsenal or Spurs. It's the way it's always been, Tabs. What I would say is that keep the faith. All those fans who are umming and ahhing now, come on Saturday. Show the players and show the management that you're not just like a flash in a pan, fair weather supporter. Come and support us season long, and then see what happens then.
What do you expect Saturday? True St Albans City to show up, or a possible hangover from the exit?
I think it could. Honestly, it could be 50-50. But the players will want to prove and bounce back. I'm sure of it. The manner of the defeat at the end, 4-0. At the end, I think a lot of them were not happy with their own performances and the way the result went. And I've seen that again on social media, on their posts today. They're not happy. They're talking about bouncing back, and of course, footballers say that. That's what they're trained to say.
We go again.
Exactly. But again, I'm sure Ian will be saying to them, cup's gone now. Forget that. The league is the bread and butter, and it's a tough game. We need to be at our best, and we've got games in hand. And if we win them, we're more in the mix again. And at the end of the day, these players, they know what they need to do. So I'm sure we'll bounce back.
It's funny, one of you mentioned earlier about looking at the centre of the midfield for strengthening. Of course, the substitute who came on for Bournemouth last night is the name that you've thrown up several times this season, James Comley.
Don't even. It's just it's awful.
Do you reckon they just sort of signed him just to piss us off? You know what I mean? Because that is just that's the sort of thing that they would do. It didn't work because but still, we love comms, don't we? But that is the path he chose to tread. So,
if we didn't make a move for him, fair enough. But it's just disappointing that we didn't, because how long was he a free agent? Since July, June. He's been sitting there. He loves St Albans City, even though he's at Bournemouth. We know he does. He's friends with a lot of the fans still, and he's just a great player. And he would have been great foil to come in for David Noble, someone like that. So, but I say, we need to strengthen certain areas. We've got the budget, no excuse.
Right, we talked about starting Nobby last night, and because you've got a cover of the number of substitutes you could use, do you start him on Saturday? Now we turn back to the bread and butter of the league.
I think we've got to.
If he's fit, he plays. How many teams have got a David Noble in their side? Not bloody many, fellas. And I tell you what, if he's fit, he plays. And again, I reiterate this point to you, fellas. If Ian had that game back again, I think he starts Nobby in the centre of the park. That's how valuable a player he is. Listen, I think what you said, Jake, a bit earlier on, mate, we mustn't let one game dictate the next sort of 20 odd. That's gone now. Let's focus positively. Let's look forward, because we've still got a hell of a lot to play for.
Yeah, I think Saturday is almost a perfect game. Big game for him. David's like at home, Clarence Park, good pitch against a Hampton side that are good, but they're footballing side. I think he'll have that time and space in midfield if we have bodies round him. We've got to chuck him in. If we don't now, then it's Braintree in the trophy, and if we don't, then it's Hemel in the league. We've got to, even though Nobby obviously needs his rest, but we've got to keep giving him consistent games. It's been a little while since he played now. Got to get him out there. And if we want to win Saturday, I think David Noble's got to start.
we'll move on from Saturday to next Tuesday. Who the heck are we playing? Hertford Town or Concord Rangers? We've complained about the website before this season, and it is shocking.
No.
Have you got an
complained
update?
about the website.
And the supporters have as well. I've had 3 people asking me today, who the heck have we got next Tuesday?
So on the website, is it still Concord?
Oh, yeah, who knows?
Still
It probably
Concord.
is. But that game on one website, BBC website, said it was off last week. It used to be a time when the Hearts Senior Cup took precedence over it, which is absolute nonsense, of course. Why can't the club just come out and clarify who it is we've got next week, so as we all know where we're going?
As you say, like even if they do update the fixture schedule on the website, they've got to put out a statement at least, or at least something saying we are now playing X club on Tuesday, on a week's time. Get the car ready.
Well, last Saturday we were supposed to be at Chelmsford, of course. It got postponed because of the FA Cup. That has now been rearranged for, was it 17th of January, somewhere like that, on a Monday night down at Melbourne Park. That slipped into the fixtures, and like you say there, Jake, not a news item. Come on, we've got this blooming media team, seen them dancing. You kicked out all the old dodgers because we were no good at it. And
hey, Dave, this wouldn't happen in our day, mate. Oh no.
and you got, well, you know what I think about people on that side of it now. They've not got football experience. They don't know the club, don't know non-league football, and the supporters suffer for it.
Dave, I can tell you haven't looked at the fixture list because it doesn't actually have Braintree on it either. So, and you haven't mentioned that. So,
it's pathetic, isn't it?
So as it stands, we've got Concord, and then we haven't got a game till Boxing Day. So
this is a tool for promoting the club, and they're just letting it rot. It's not right.
I mean, Braintree, Braintree's be whatever. But at next Tuesday, supporters need to plan where they're going. They need to, if it's Concord, some will need to finish work earlier on the Tuesday. Need to know where we're going. If it's Hertford, etc. So, yeah, it would be good to get some clarity.
That's a diplomatic way of putting it, Jake. Well done.
What about the tannoy?
Oh God.
Well, you can hear the Wood one last night, but even their bloke, he bellows out their names and he says ours are a lot quieter. No, the people who are at that game, whether it's a home game or away game, the supporters there and supporters there are paid their money. Treat them with equal respect. If you want to learn how to do it, go down to Bath City the one game and listen to their tannoy guy. Midway through the second half, give out the attendance and say, put your hands together for all the supporters from whichever club is visiting today, and the home supporters collapse. That's what I'm looking for. Collapse as well. Totally different to the experience you get at certain clubs in the London area.
Well, to be fair, Bournemouth fans would just chuck things up at us if they'd said that. And also, I will say, couldn't hear the tannoy in the away end or the terrace anyway. So I think you were lucky, Dave.
Yeah, I was very lucky.
One thing I'd like to sort of bring to your attention, Dave, and you wouldn't know I was going to sort of slip this in, mate. There's a non-league blogger called Neil Jensen, and he does the most amazing pieces for various websites and programs. It's called
Game Supporter.
He is, yes, and so you'd know him. And he always kicks off his pieces by saying, a club without its history is like a tree without its roots. And last night there were a load of new fans at the ground, and they were sort of saying, "Oh, how have we got on in the past against Boreham Wood, and who's our scorers, etc., etc." And we pointed them, didn't we, Jake, towards the stats website that yourself and Webbo do, and they were looking at it on their phones on the terrace. And I think it's very important now for fans, young and old, new and just to sort of really engage with the club, and obviously the history behind it, because there were many fans there that would have been their first trip to Boreham Wood last night, and it was a frequent occurrence, mate. And I think it was why we're so passionate about it was because Dave and and myself, and maybe you, Jake, as well, that we used to go there frequently, mate, and get turned over. So last night was really nothing new for us, but it's a new dawn in terms of the players and the football that we play.
Yeah, I do agree. And again, people do not realise the history between City and Wood, a lot of these new fans. But one of the reasons why it is like it is, St Albans City is such a historic non-league club, been around for so many years now, 1908. This club didn't start 2 years ago. It didn't start when Shikari sponsored us. It didn't start when we got a new badge. It didn't start even 10 years ago. It's been here forever. It's part of the community. It's a community asset. It'll be here for much longer. Lee, why have you got those? Goodness me. And,
They finally listened to us, Jake.
they actually did.
This was like, this was 3 years in the making, fellow. Did we or did we not suggest this to the club, the powers that be, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Go to every pub in St Albans, hand out posters, hand out beer mats. Do you reckon like the club actually realised the irony of giving out beer mats of the badge that everyone's been saying that looks like a beer mat for the last sort of 2 years?
but yeah, this is such a historic club. It's so important to all of us. And I say, get to know the history, get to know what we're about. We've got some cracking history, has to be said. And go to the Saints Statistics website and find out. Have a bit of fun.
Get to know why we are so bloody miserable half the time as well. So that's what it is.
Yeah, getting back to Neil Jensen, Lee, I got a feeling his wife was related to Jimmy Norris, a former City player from the 50s who died earlier this year. And going further back,
Oh, God.
I'm sure somewhere Neil's got a connection to, I think it was Billy Minter, might have been Harold T, but I think it's Billy Minter. But it's a very distant link, but there you go.
But yeah, so again, it's his website, Game of the People. Please do go and check it out. It's a real nostalgic look at non-league football, but also with like a modern twist. He sort of applies the modern day game into it and makes very, very intelligent comparisons. And it's a really, really good piece.
On that note as well, I think we should say if you're interested in the alternative match programs that Dave has brilliantly put together for Bournemouth game or Forest Green, email us. And also, again, similar to yours, Lee, shout out to Ian King and the 200% website. And he did a brilliant article after the Forest Green game. So no one's read it. And he did a podcast as well about it. So go find him on Twitter. Go find the website. He doesn't do much on 200% now, but it's absolutely superb article. And it was basically a love letter to the club. And again, any new supporters, that will show how much this club means to people spread far and wide.
On that pirate programme, Podful of Saints one, Jake, thanks to everybody who did order it after last week's show, and thanks for all the kind words about it as well. And thankfully, we've not got to do one for the third round. Get my life back.
You have a life.
Right, we better do some predictions. Hampton and Richmond Borough. Come on, you two.
I don't know why I bother anymore because my predictions are absolutely cack.
You were only one goal out last night, Lee.
Yeah, if they're wrong bloody side, but you know, it's I don't know. 4-0 City.
I'm going to go 3-1 Saints. Do we have to do predictions for both the Concord and Hartford games in case we don't know who we're playing?
Right, Hartford we lose because we never win there.
On penalties as well.
I think Ben Hurd's penalty is still travelling somewhere over.
It's the only reason he's there now, to try and find where it landed, and it's taken him quite a few years.
He's got to earn his keep now because they run out of balls.
Yeah. Oh God.
Come on, then, prediction. You don't get off that easy. Concord.
Ooh. Score draw.
Yeah, I'll go 1-0 if we're playing Concord, and I'll go that we'll win 2-1 if we're playing Hartford.
Well, as many as that.
Although I suspect, as Lee says, we'll get knocked out on penalties and it'll just be a shambles of an evening if it's Hartford. But they do have a nice new 3G, and it'll be nice to see Mr. Ben Hurd, everyone's favourite ageing fullback.
We'll sign him up, shall we?
Yeah, he could do a Tom at right back. Oh, after Tonbridge, by the way, talking of right backs we should have signed. 4 or 5 of us Saints fans walking back from Tonbridge, pretty much running for the train, stopped off at Shell petrol station. Who's in there? Jamie Fielding.
Oh, well, because he was the unused sub for them, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's decent right back. Again, probably should have signed him. And he said how much he loved the City fans and how much he enjoyed playing at the park. So, and he recognised us all straight away. He's like, you lot are class. Like,
who doesn't love us? I'll tell you who. Boreham Wood fans. That's who doesn't love us.
So yeah, hello Jamie, if you're watching. And that's another right back we could get.
Lee, how can you say they don't love you? They were throwing you presents last night.
Yeah, listen, mate, there's presents and then there's presents. When you get, that's not the sort of Christmas present I'll be asking for this time.
Definitely. Right, are we done?
I think we have to be. Before we get ourselves into any sort of like legal ramifications, to be fair.
Oh, God. Any legal complaints, Mr. Hunter, send them to Dave Tafts. He lives in Bedfordshire somewhere now.
I haven't slagged them off today. It's you two.
It would be
Love it.
really, really good to sort of to hear supporters' views on what they thought of the Bournemouth game. Jacob, give them our Twitter handle, my friend.
Yep, at a Podful of Saints on Twitter. Get involved. We love tweeting and hearing about it and what you think. So send us a message and also email us as well. So get involved. Let us know how much you enjoyed your evening in that part of Hertfordshire.
And learn some more about our history. Very
Yes.
important.
Yes, absolutely.
Good.
Oh, dear me, look at this. Whoa. We've ended
Right,
positively.
We'll be back next week talking about the Hampton and Richmond Borough game, plus heaven knows what.
Yeah, brilliant.
Next Tuesday.
Awesome. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Cheerio.